Dr. Wang will be speaking on computing lowering skills and a creative pathway towards legal data scientist. So moving on to his abstract, we have seen that study deals with particularly the legal aspects, while artificial intelligence, which is involved, while interpretation of judgments by the judges, how judges interpret their judgments, what are the observations we get through artificial intelligence using of softwares, online softwares, and we have this Dr. Wang. He's faculty of law from University of Hong Kong, and his research area and interest focuses on IPR, IT law, innovation policy, particularly by means of computational legal studies and data sciences. And so this is very relevant when we see the current scenario when everything has gone on online mode, how artificial intelligence is important in legal acumen and in legal fields. And so we are very much blessed to hear from Sir on this topic.
Thanks. So should I share the screen? Sorry. Okay. Can you see the slides? Okay.
It's visible.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very happy to virtually sharing with you some emerging topics in the AI-driven lawyering era. I will give you a brief introduction to computational law, as well as how to become a beginner in the field of legal data science. Should you have any further questions, feel free to interact with me via Twitter. First, please allow me to provide you with a hook. Take China's smart judiciary, for example. The smart court system formally developed into an ideology of smart judiciary, coined to embrace the quick emergence of automated and AI-aided judging behavior in the Chinese courts. Precisely as Chief Justice Zhou Qiang called for a centralized approach to collecting, integrating, analyzing the judicial data with the overseeing datasets formed in the National AI Social Governance Initiative. You can actually see here some interesting statistics. From September 2018 to August 2019, the Beijing Internet Court received a total around 34,000 cases and closed 25,000 cases. The number of cases has grown rapidly. The appealing rate from first trials reached around 98%. The average length of the trial was 37 minutes, and the average trial period was 14 days. And at the same time that Beijing Internet Court has achieved a team of one judge plus several judge assistants and some outsourcing services. In Hong Kong here, where I'm physically staying, eBrand, as an initiative of online dispute resolution, has speeded up the professional services for arbitrators and mediators. So what actually happened to the judiciary and the lawyering system? In the civil law system, it has been widely acknowledged that the term logic originating from Aristotle's system, we have major premise, minor promise, and the conclusion, namely from laws to facts to the conclusion. In the common law system, you must have received the training of how to adopt IRAC method to start your legal research. Now, the advantage of AI, particularly the artificial narrow intelligence, is seeing a rising increase in the legal profession. As Andrew, a famous AI scientist, defined, there are AIs that do one thing, such as a smart speaker or a self-driving car, or AI to do web search, or AI applications in farming, or an industry, a factory. And it seems that ANI is adapting an e-commerce model to the legal profession by extracting, predicting, and selling or analyzing legal texts as data. As you can see here, such big names have been bringing their own expertise in computational law to the general public, say Harvard, Oxford, Stanford, and even MIT. We can also see a few NGOs doing computational things by developing legal technology like legal hackers and remote courts worldwide. The list can definitely go on. Now, you may want to know what is computational law is, because it sounds promising, fancy, and future-proofed, like the law in the sci-fi. Lee Lovinger coined the paradigm of applying the computational symbolic logic to the legal system. In the modern times, Michael from Stanford Kodak Center defined computational law by saying computational law is that branch of legal informatics concerned with the mechanization of legal analysis. And Kevin Ashley from Pittsburgh focused more on the interplay between AI and the legal reasoning. He framed the computational law by drawing attention to legal information retrieval, attraction, and text processing. This may be a little bit vague or abstract. So let me take the MIT's computational law course as an example. It consists of three main sub-areas. That is legal analytics, legal technology, and computational legal research. The track of legal analytics uses AI or machine learning for solving legal use cases and employs data-driven visualization, including AR, for discipline and interaction with methods of complex legal and financial relationships and contexts. The legal technology track is about some fundamental notions that have long been used by computer scientists like blockchain, smart contracts, protocols, and APIs. Last but not least, computational legal research requires more in terms of the balance between lawyer usable and machine readable. The list of computational legal education can continue as well. The professors from Chicago, Kent, Ottawa, Northwestern, Pittsburgh, and here Hong Kong U, as well as the Chinese University Union of Computational Law, have been providing workshops, master, and diploma programs already. Considering the practice of computational legal education, I would like to conclude in this slide that computational law, in my opinion, includes three levels of studies. The first is what we lawyers do. The legal implications of AI, see privacy, data protection, fairness by design. The second is the industry of legal technology that incubates entrepreneurs datafying our legal profession by using these hottest techniques. The third is how the legal scholarship will respond to the development of AI, for instance, by doing online experiments and computer stimulation that we have not been ready for as traditional lawyers. Actually, computational law is deeply subject to the basic notion of complex system in the physical sense. The law as a complex system looks into human behavior like litigating activities and reflect on the self-organized ontological, ethical, and methodological debates over legal tests as data. In this regard, computational law exercises the procedure of DICLO, namely data, input, computational layer, and output. Traditionally, the observational practice is largely based on the perspective of empirical and big data correlation, observing the horizontal perspective, the causal relationship between the data. Now, the experimental practice obtain real causal mechanisms through the intervention of random trials, ultimately by means of computer stimulation, for example, agent-based model, observes the data producing process and helps understand the micro phenomena emerging from individuals through a longitudinal perspective. Computational law is also deeply rooted in causality. As Judy Pugh said in his book, from a concept shrouded in mystery into a mathematical object with well-defined semantics and well-founded logic, paradox and controversials have been resolved. Slippery concepts have been explicated, and practical problems rely on causal information that long were regarded as either metaphysical or unmanageable can now be solved using elementary mathematics. Put simply, causality has been mechanized. So we use Kevin Ashley computational model of legal reasoning to elaborate more on the causality in the computational law. We shifted from phase one, the legal experts systems, to phase two about argument retrieval and cognitive computing. How about the current phase, the phase three? Actually highlights the necessity of telling the difference between statutory reasoning and the case-based legal reasoning so that we can achieve the on at predicting for legal outcomes. Constructing a good computational model of legal reasoning is subject to the information processing of legal argument. The tests will be representing legal concepts in ontologies and type systems, making legal information retrieval smarter, operating machine learning with legal texts, extracting information from statutory and regulatory texts, extracting argument-related information from legal case texts. Since time is limited, I will deal with the application of deep learning here only. We have to recognize that the application of laws is like structuring algorithms. We may have known the famous notion, code is law. And when we consider the traditional methods of legal reasoning, for example, issue, rule, analysis, and conclusion, AI machines can translate them into neural networks that can classify legal texts and weigh legal values in the legal argument. Simply, we just need the data from legal profession to train the AI legally professionally. There are some examples of adopting computational law. Here is the social network analysis, virtualizing and quantifying complaint structure and the patentability. There are also some cases using text mining or natural language processing methods to construct the topic models. In this paper, the model helps understand the Chinese attitudes to privacy in the social media. And yes, at the end, we may be interested in becoming a legal data scientist. Allow me to tell you how, in my own opinion. Basically, we will have to be able to code, and it will be better to have the machine learning skills as well. Ideally, we have to be good at probability and statistics. Surely at the same time, we need to be lawyers of excellence in the traditional sense. However, we may sound ambitious if we have a plan to make all the achievements here. Because from my own observation, computational legal experts are normally those with JD and PhD degrees simultaneously. So what will be the solution? I suggest that having some basic programming expertise be the feasible approach to the age of computational law, because if so, at least we can team up with the interdisciplinary people, and programming bridges the gap to some extent. So let's look forward to the other panel members' programming story later. And this is some bonus for you, as I know from the legal technology community, I claim no interest conflicts here in first place. there will soon be a free summer school about legal technology essentials. It's of possible interest. Yes, so that's all for today, and I look very much forward to your comments and questions.
Since we don't have any questions on the panel right now, so we don't have any questions. But one question I would like to ask that is there any international rules which are involved in analyzing the framework of law and artificial intelligence, like international conventions being signed, that how law, particularly any defined pattern, how law and computation rules will go hand in hand, because it also involves when emotional intelligence. So how they will deal with emotional intelligence in those observations.
Uh, thanks for your question. And I think actually I co-authored a report, but it's a forthcoming book chapter about the ethics of artificial intelligence. But as our team members think that from the in the international level, uh, the the technological profession and the legal profession are teaming up to draft some 10 principles of artificial intelligence or something. So it's a hot topic already, but but if, from our research, we can conclude that regionally or nationally, the people draft their ethics for artificial intelligence very differently, just because it will consider the marketplace there, the legal industry there, and some and probably some technological capacity. So I think um, these issues are emerging, but now it's not very coherent or something. Thank you.
One more question we have that how do you think that, because law, can you hear me? Am I audible?
It's a
How can
little
you
bit hard, actually. Sorry.
okay, okay.
Please.
So my question is, how do you think that law and statistics and programming, because these two are both of different domains, how students will develop their interest in law and computation?
Yes, actually, in my last slide, yes, I think I mentioned that probably it's a little bit ambitious for us to want to develop a skill set or of computational methods, just because for example, a PhD in computer science, they can just achieve, make the achievements of about algorithms, data structure, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement to learning, or something like this, very technical issues. But for law students, we are probably, as we know, we are always suffering from law school courses already. So it's so probably from my opinion, it's possible for us to development some commercial purpose in the first place. That means we have to nurture students' entrepreneurship in the first place. For example, after graduation from law school, they can be a startup entrepreneur instead of a lawyer. So I think, or if and at the same time, as I mentioned in the slide, programming will bridge the gap in the first place. Actually, if you start learning programming, you will feel very honored or achieved or something. You know, you will very proud of what you have done. Yes, thank you.
And my next question to you is that what is the what is how much big is your classroom for computational law subject? Like how many students are enrolled? Like how much big it is? Can you see the interest in law students coming for the competition law and learning coding and programming?
Yes, actually, I was a teaching assistant in a course at Hong Kong U, and this course is about computer programming, data mining, and the law. Just an applied introduction. Um, I saw the students probably in the very first in the very beginning, they will be poor at even playing with their MacBooks, even how to restart the computer or something like this. But actually, um, time flies, and everybody can take the opportunity, and the content professors would like to express to them. Uh, and they will learn from the content, and then practice the programming skills. Specifically, it's a kind of problem oriented exercises or something. So actually, they can team up or individually finish the exercises quizzes, and there is a project oriented learning process. So I think students, if the students are not interested, probably the teaching, probably there is something wrong with the teaching techniques or some. Yes, just because nowadays people, even kids, just can just learn programming like playing a game, right? Via some apps. Thank you.
And what say you have on this blockchain and the recent technology of blockchain and payment contracts of arbitration through blockchain technology? Like there are new technologies through which contracts are going to executed in law, and that is blockchain, different blockchain technologies which are coming up. Like we have this type of some currency we say. There's
Um, yes, actually, China is now adopting lawful digital currency. No, yes, and as I know from the research, I think the blockchain is more about the trust. That means uh, you can definitely provide the evidence blockchained by the technology, and so the trust is the trust is the first important
like
thing.
we have Bitcoin also. Bitcoin.
Yes, definitely, but I think in different countries, Bitcoin is regulated differently. Yes, due to the regulatory environment of financial sectors. But the as I know, but for example, in Hong Kong, RegTech, InsurTech, FinTech, is many X techs. Are yes, these X targets are being developed by the legal profession and the techni technicians. And even at Hong Kong USNO, there will be a fintech academy for learning the blockchain and its legal issues as well. Yes.
Okay, thank you.